I did it.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We're 1 minute late. So I'm David Jones. I am the Sergeant of Arms, and I've called the meeting to order. Tonight we have a couple speakers, and one just walked in. We're waiting for the second one. The only changes we've really made is you can see on the club view. I'll have the timer show it in a minute, but you'll be able to see the time a little bit better, the lights. In the past, it was harder to see them on Zoom, so we have that. And we're just trying to make changes as we go along. In fact, we're going to make some changes next week where I'm not looking back at Zoom. And with that, I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to our president, Elvis Lopez. Take it away.
Thank you, David. And good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. Tonight, we have a wonderful meeting with several speakers. And before we go into the meeting, I would like to start introducing our guests. We have some guests that are on Zoom. I see some, and also in person, we have Leon. So I would like to ask our VP of membership to pass the mic on to our guests to help me introduce our guests. Please go ahead. Tell us your name. How do you hear about Queen City Toastmasters, and what are you looking to achieve? Please.
Thank you, Elvis, for that introduction. We do have a few guests in the room today. Leon, Casey, we have a returning guest or a past member as well, Ollie, and I believe a Deborah is online as well. So what we can do first, we can probably start in the room. Leon, could you just tell us about your name, kind of what our Elvis was talking about, and introduce yourself and why you're here.
Well, my name's Leon White. I'm originally from Raleigh, moved here about a year and 3 or 4 months ago. Was part of a Toastmasters group in Raleigh, and now that I feel a little bit more settled into Charlotte, went on the Toastmasters website to look for a new organization to be a part of, and I saw this one. It seemed pretty well established, a good group of people, and I believe I saw your YouTube video of you talking about the functions of Toastmaster. And one of the things that I'm looking to get out of it is to continue to perfect my public speaking skills, to go alongside with my coaching practice. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm here, and also to network and meet some amazing people. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And we have Casey as well. Casey, can you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Casey Pickett. I am a past member, so not technically a guest, but what brought me back out is really a Instagram message. I don't know if it was David or Elvis. Yeah, so, and it really brought me back out. I had an opportunity to speak a few weeks ago and realized that I was rusty. And so really want to polish myself and become better at my public speaking skills. And so here I am.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Leon, as well. Ollie, would you like to introduce yourself? All right, let's give Ollie the mic. Anytime.
Hello, everybody. Ollie Tobin. Anybody catch what this man just said? He said she reached out to him. How long has it been since you've been here, sir? No, to one of these meetings.
So I was a past member. This is my first time back
In a while. Follow up. Your money is made in your follow up. That's basically the lessons to be learned here.
Thank you, Ollie. And I believe we do have any new members or guests online.
Hi, I'm Grace Majeski, first meeting here. I am fairly new to Charlotte, moved here just prior to COVID. I am working remotely from my office in Chicago, And I belong to our corporate club. For that, I've belonged there for about 6 years now. But I'm looking to continue to do more Toastmasters, maybe here in the city in person. I had initially planned to travel to the meeting there, but my work ran late, so I was unable to get into the car early enough to make it on time. So here I am on Zoom, but I hope to join you sometime in person.
Thank you. We're very glad that you joined online, and hopefully next time in person. David, do we have anybody else on Zoom? Do we have another member online or a new guest? Ollie, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, any other guest online? I'd like to now pass it back over to our president, Elvis.
Thank you, Sean. Sean is our VP of membership. Thank you so much for helping us introduce our guests. And now I would like to introduce the person who is going to lead us through the rest of our meeting. Is the Toastmaster of the day, Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elvis, his new official term. So has anyone heard of the term ultralearning before? Ultralearning is a relatively new term that is associated with an author named Scott Young. And it describes independent, self-directed, and immersive learning. It's a little different than classroom learning because it gives learners an opportunity to really focus on one specific area in a very intensive way. And that's the cover of the book. And I read this book earlier this year, and I was really intrigued by the concept. And let me share with you Scott Young's story. He's Canadian. He attended and graduated with a degree of commerce from a Canadian university. And when he was done, he realized that's not really what he wants to do for the rest of his life. One of the things he became interested in was studying computers and computer science. But he did not want to go back to school for 4 more years. Cost, time, having to leave home to go study somewhere else. So he went online and he started looking for opportunities to do basically what he wanted to do without having to leave and go somewhere else for school. And one of the things that he discovered was that several colleges, especially MIT, if you go onto their website, you can watch lectures, you can learn what the assignments are, you can take exams, and you can check your answers. And after doing research for several months, he basically discovered that if he planned things out well enough, he could do the equivalent of the 4-year undergraduate MIT computer science program. So he set this up for himself as a challenge. And he decided he was going to apply ultralearning, immersive, self-directed, independent learning to doing the MIT computer science undergraduate degree. And he blogged about it. And he successfully completed all of those 4-year requirements in 12 months. People started reaching out to him wondering, like, what are you doing? What is this? And how can we start applying what you've learned? And he really became interested in the topic. And he started researching to see if other people had done the same thing in an effort to take principles that they had used and really put together this new subject. And out of that came this book. He tried doing other things on his own. He taught himself sketch drawing in 4 weeks. And then the biggest challenge that he posed to himself, which he successfully did, was to learn 4 new languages to be able to be conversational within a period of 12 months. And so he traveled the world, went to different countries, and he successfully learned 4 languages. He wanted to take this a step further, and he started asking people who he knew and also people who are following his blog for volunteers, for anyone who might be interested in taking on an ultralearning project. And several people responded. And one of those people was a gentleman named Tristan De Montebello. Has anyone heard of him? Tristan De Montebello is an important person in this story that has some connection to all of us here. But you're going to have to wait to hear what that connection is, because we're going to come back to this at various points throughout the meeting. And for now, what I would like to do is introduce several other group members who are going to be assisting us with running the meeting tonight, starting with our inspirational speaker, who's from our South Park Sister Club and is online with us. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Sonia Pons.
Hi, thank you, family. Unfortunately, here in Maryland, we had a storm, and so my lights are off, so forgive me for being on my phone. The Roman poet Horace said this. He said, the pen is the tongue of the mind. And how many times have we said, oh, I wish I could read your mind. It would make our world so much easier. But my fellow Toastmasters, I ask this question. Why are we so consumed with the stories of others that they're uncomfortable to share? Why not mind our own business and share our stories? As we start this new Toastmasters season, you have the ability through pathways to develop, refine, and amplify your own stories while we're creating this unique mark as a leader and a communicator. And along the way, with our core value of service, you can encourage and champion others to do the same through leading by example. So I'm going to ask you in this new season, work your path, use your stories to impact the world, and maybe earn a couple of triple crowns along the way. And with that, I will turn the lecturing back over to your distinguished Toastmaster, Dr. Laxer.
Thank you, Sonia. I would now like to call upon our grammarian, Toastmaster Andrea Williams.
Would you like to want a Carolyn or? Come on, phone. Come on, thing. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and fellow Toastmasters. Today, I am your grammarian. I am here as your counter, and I'm going to take note of all the important things that we say along the line of our theme. So with our theme, I came up with the word of the day. The word of the day today is, okay, I'm silly. But the word of the day is lifelong learning. And I looked up the definition to see if I was aligned with the definition that they gave. And I was pretty close, but it says lifelong learning is the life-wide, voluntary, and self-motivated pursuit of knowledge for not only personal, but professional reasons as well. It does not only enhance social inclusion, active citizenship, and individual development, but also increases competitiveness and employability. And I like to say, and the pursuit of your dream. So that is the word of the day. I will be looking forward to hearing how you use lifelong learning.
Thank you, Toastmaster Andrea. I would now like to introduce our timer for this evening, Toastmaster Jordan Temple. Please join me in welcoming Jordan.
Thank you, Eric. I will be the timer this evening. As you know, the speeches are timed. They're 5 to 7 minutes this evening. There's 2 of them. The green, keep your eye on the green timer. It'll go off at 5 minutes. The yellow will go off at 6 minutes.
We can't hear.
Hello? Okay.
I'm hearing fine.
Okay. And the red will go off at 7 minutes. The table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. The green will go off at 1. The yellow will go off at 1:30, and the red at 2. And for the evaluators, those are 2 to 3 minute evaluations. The red will go off at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And the green will go off at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red at 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. I would now like to introduce and recognize our ballot counter, Toastmaster Heather Jacoby. Please join me in welcoming Heather.
Thank you,
Toastmaster. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I am Heather Jacoby. I am the ballot counter. So a couple things to go over. If you could tear the bottom parts of your ballot now so it's not disruptive during the speaking. We have 2 speakers tonight. As we tally up the votes, I'll walk around and grab the tally of the votes and count them up. A couple things that I noticed, some people, if they forgot the name, they would write speaker 1 or speaker 2. That's something you can refer to. And then the other thing is pay attention to as people are coming up, as their names are announced, and you can write the name down on your paper. And that way that'll help you remember the name. It's really helpful if you vote. So we do have two speakers. We have an evaluator, and then we'll have table topics. And table topics are points of discussion where you can volunteer and come up and have a question on spot. So that is, I think that's all I have. Oh, send it to what? Yes, and Zoom, because I'm not going to forget to count the Zoom votes. If you could send it through the instant message, your vote to the club view. Thank you. Thank you. To the club view. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can access Club View as a drop down on the Zoom chat menu. I think is where it is. So let me come back to our theme for just a moment, because I know everyone wants to know who Tristan De Montebello was. So he was working for a software company in California, and he approached Scott Young and said, I'm interested in being a guinea pig for one of your projects, but what can we do? So they thought about several different things, and they came up with Tristan learning public speaking. And they chose that for 2 reasons. One is he really didn't have very much public speaking experience. He actually was at one point had been on stage. He was a guitarist and a singer with different bands, but he did not have public speaking experience. And the second reason was because it was a useful skill that he thought could be applicable in his daily life. So Tristan, in keeping with Ultralearning, he went online and he started doing research about how to learn public speaking. And that led him to a Toastmasters group in California. And the first meeting he was there, he learned that within 10 days was going to be that club's competition to determine who was going to represent them at the next level in the Toastmasters World Speaking Championship contest. And Tristan became very intrigued, and he thought that this would be a good opportunity for him to use as motivation to become a better public speaker. He thought he was going to go to a few meetings, learn how to speak, give a really good speech somewhere, but it turned into something much greater than that. So once he joined Toastmasters, he went online and he started watching every single Toastmasters winning speech from 1995. That's like over 20 years earlier. And he went on YouTube and he started watching different speakers on YouTube. And he asked people he knew who really good speakers were. And he started watching them on YouTube. And basically what he started doing in the Ultralearning principles is something called meta learning. And meta learning refers to, before you jump into a project, to decide what the best way is for you to be successful in that project. In other words, what's the best way to learn? And rather than just like reading a book or going on YouTube and through that learning how to be a public speaker, have a plan and have a strategy. So that's the first principle. And we'll come back to several other ones shortly. But really, the main event of every meeting are our speakers. And I'd like to introduce and call upon our first speaker this evening, Junior Gomez, who will be giving us a speech titled No Plans. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. When I was a kid, my parents, my teachers, my coaches would always say, you gotta have a plan. When you go to high school, you gotta have a plan. When you go to college, you gotta have a plan. Even after college, what's the first thing they ask you when you apply to a job? What's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? All my life, I grew up thinking that everything had to be planned. It debilitated me. I had no idea how to plan. I just knew that everything needed a plan. I wanted to start a business, but I needed to have a business plan. I had no idea how to do this. Before I became a full-time artist, I was working my 9 to 5. I liked it at first until I didn't. Until I became miserable because I wasn't following my passion. I wasn't following my true instincts, my nature, the love, the passion that I had inside me. Every day after my 9 to 5, I would go home, I would work on my passion. I knew that this was it. I knew that I wanted to become a full-time artist. I knew that that was the path, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how I was going to sell my art. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know finances. I had no clients, but I had my heart. I had my passion. And that was enough. That was enough for me. For me to say, no plan today, but my plan is to put one foot in front of the other and pursue my dream. And that's what I did. I did it with all my love and everything that I had within me to get to where I'm at right now. And the reason why I don't like plans is because plans don't leave room for your imagination. They don't leave room for the spontaneous moments. The spontaneous moments in our lives that we all can look back to and say, wow, that was a great night. Who here had one of those nights? Those spontaneous nights when a friend called you that hadn't seen you in like 5, 10 years and reached out and said, hey, I'm in town. I would love to catch up tonight. And you at that moment, that wasn't in your plan to receive that phone call from that person. But at that moment you led with your heart. You said, you know what? Why not? You go out, you have drinks, you have dinner. That next morning you wake up and you say, wow, what an incredible night. At that moment was led from here. You just followed your true nature. Now, I don't want to tell you that all plans are bad. Not all plans are bad. Some people truly thrive on having plans. It allows them to reach their goals. It allows them to be successful, whatever it may be. So I don't want you to think that all plans are actually bad. I mean, we had to plan to be here tonight, right? When you go on a trip, you want to plan that trip, unless it's a spontaneous trip. But this message and this speech is for the people who don't have a plan, who don't have a business plan, but they know deep down inside that they want to pursue that hobby, that they want to put that YouTube video out, that they want to date that person, that they want to do whatever it is that they want to do, but don't know and are debilitated by having a plan. So I'm here to tell you today that your plan has to just be putting one foot in front of the other, because that plan will take you to places that your imagination haven't even thought of, where the spontaneous moments live, where you are living by your true nature, by what you truly know best, by your God-given ability, your heart, your love, and your passion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Junior. Our second speaker this evening is going to be giving a talk called Lessons Learned from Vacation. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Toastmaster Fitzgerald Light.
That was the point. Correct. Hey everyone, my name is Fitzlight. Alarm rings at 6 a.m. I hit snooze once. Okay, twice. All right, more like 3 times, but only because I know that as long as I'm out the house by 7:45, then I'll get to work right at 8 a.m. I get there at 8:35. Of course, the one day where I need to be to work at 8:30 would be the day there is a big traffic accident. Now, not only am I aggravated, I'm also 5 minutes late for a meeting. I wish I could tell you the rest of the day got better, but unfortunately it didn't. I went home that night, prepared to do it all over again the next day. How many of you have ever needed a break from the monotony of life? I know I did when I chose to take my first international vacation abroad as an adult. That night, I went home. I started Googling places. I wanted somewhere that was tropical, somewhere where I could relax on the beach, feel the sand in my toes, feel the wind on my non-existent hair, a place where I could sip a nice cold pina colada. I decided on Tulum, Mexico. Now, I wanted somewhere that wasn't close by. I was burnt out. I wanted to get away. Sometimes you just need a vacation, am I right? And with international trips in particular, I learned that I usually come back feeling somewhat changed in a way. So today I'm going to discuss with you one of the most important life lessons that I learned on my first international trip abroad. And that lesson is perspective. So Tulum, Mexico, you can go ahead. If you Google this place, it looks like absolute paradise. The water is the perfect blue, that crystal blue that you can see through. The trees are the perfect green. But what they don't tell you is that it's actually a 2-hour drive from Cancun Airport in the middle of a jungle. Now you're probably saying, Fitz, what's wrong with the jungle? Tarzan seems to love that. Well, let me give you 3 reasons. 1, there is no cell signal in the middle of the jungle. As a millennial, that hurts. 2, there aren't any paved roads in the middle of the jungle, which usually wouldn't be a bad thing. However, my friends and I decided to rent a 2019 Honda Odyssey that we quickly turned into a Ford F-150. And then lastly, 3, while Tulum is a great tourist destination, it still does have a heavy cartel influence, but that didn't stop us though, didn't stop us. So we get to Tulum, well, we get to Cancun, we embark on our 2-hour off-road adventure in our Honda F-150. We're discussing all the things we're gonna do once we get to our resort like Airbnb. You know, I'm gonna hit the pool first, or are we doing ATVs? What would it be? Are we gonna cook? Are we gonna take shots? And this goes on for about an hour. You know, we start to approach our destination. It's 3 minutes away. We start passing a row of abandoned houses, and we pull up to this dark alleyway. Looks kind of like this. I might be being a little dramatic, but it looked like this, if you ask me. As we pull up to this alleyway, Siri goes, "You have reached your destination." Now I look at my friend, he looks at me, and he proceeds to say, "Well, maybe Siri doesn't work in Mexico." I say that sounds right. Let's use Google Maps instead. We pull up Google Maps. Google Maps says, "Hey, actually it's down the road, make a left." So we go down the road, we make a left. Then we make another left. Tells us to make another left and one more left. And we come back up and we realize that we're back at the same alleyway as it proceeds to say, "You have reached your destination." Now, I'm starting to panic at this point because not only are we lost in the middle of a jungle with no cell signal, but it's starting to look like the beginning of the next Taken movie. So my friend says, "Hey, why don't we call the Airbnb owner?" Great idea. Let's do that. Ring, ring, ring. Hola, the Airbnb owner answers. My friend proceeds to tell him how we may have been given the wrong address and how we ended up in this sketchy looking place. The owner says, "Oh no, did you see the alley? Oh yeah, okay, stay right there. We're gonna send a white Jeep to come get you. Follow this white Jeep inside the alley, and then you'll be there. Now, show of hands, how many of you are going inside this alley? Now, how many of you are thinking GTFO? I'm with you all. So I'm like hyperventilating at this point. My friend is trying to calm me down and it's freaking me out more because he's not freaked out. After a few minutes of losing myself, the white Jeep appears. We timidly follow it inside the alleyway through a gate. And that feeling that I had in the bottom of my gut turned out to be completely wrong. It was beautiful. It was just as described. And it made me realize that sometimes when you're thinking about things from a negative perspective, that's how you start to view life. After a few days, my mindset started to change. Not having signal became a positive thing because instead of, being tied down to my phone, I was actually able to be in the moment and enjoy it. Those unpaved roads that we were complaining about became a new Mario Kart course that we wanted to master. And while that vacation did end, that life lesson remained with me. When I got back home, started getting ready for work the next day, I still hit snooze, but only once this time. Because instead of viewing the day as something to be dreaded, I looked at it as something to be conquered. A new day to start that new business idea, a new day to do that thing I've been procrastinating on, or just another day to finally talk to that girl on the third floor that I've been daydreaming about. I want you all to think about your own life. How many glasses are you viewing as half empty when they're actually half full? Or maybe you don't like what's in the glass, so it being half empty could be a good thing. Life is all about perspective. And as you start to change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Fitz. Can we now have a timer's report from our timer this evening, Jordan?
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. Junior's speech came in at 4 minutes and 43 seconds. And Fitz's speech came in just over time at 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would now like to remind everybody that the word of the day is lifelong learning. And I'd like to call upon our immediate past president who is going to lead us through table topics. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster David Jones.
Immediate past president. Oh, Vanessa is now the immediate past president. All right, table topics is a way for you to just get engaged and speak for 1 to 2 minutes. You try to make it to 1 minute. You always try for the green. Once you see the green, you've made your 1 minute. You're doing great. I'm just going to ask some random questions and just get up and talk like you talk to a friend at a bar or at a meeting. And I'd like to first call on an old friend, Casey Pickett. Casey. I don't wait for people to raise their hands. I got my people in mind. Casey. All right. The book at the bottom I read, it said Atomic Habits. That sounds heavy duty, Atomic Habits. What habits do you have that move you forward in life? It's Casey.
Habits that I have that move me forward. Habits are important. Habits, they're the day-to-day, the things that we just always do. We don't have to plan for them because it happens. If we're going on vacation, we still have our habits. Our habits are with us no matter what. One of the habits that I have that moves me forward is waking up early. No matter what, I am waking up before 7 a.m. If I'm on vacation, I'm up before the sun is up. And it gives me time to read. It gives me time to plan. It gives me time to do my lifelong learning because we're all on this journey to better ourselves. That's why we're here today. It gives me time to really just think and breathe and be in the moment because life is so, so fast. And by forming this habit, it's allowed me to be patient. It's allowed me to sit still. It's allowed me to better know myself and become better. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome back. Appreciate it. Next up, I would like to go to our guest online. I know she's a Toastmaster. Grace, would you be willing to participate?
There you go. Absolutely. Just taking myself off mute.
Now, everybody here at Toastmasters is a lifelong learner, which is our word of the day. What do you want to learn about next in life, Grace?
What do I want to learn about next in life? Very good question. Indeed. I have just started re-studying the French language. And it's one of those things where I have always desired to be fluent. And I'm fluent in another language, but I have not yet mastered French. And I took French in high school. I took it in college. I can understand a little bit, but one of the things that I've always desired is to be able to hold a conversation. And so I have restarted my learning, trying a new application and looking to join several online groups that hold conversations in French. Now, I'm not quite there yet. I'm still trying to remember my vocabulary, remember all those grammatical things that Sister Dorothy taught us in high school. And I hope to become fluent at some point, but each day I find I am getting a little bit better. My ears tuning into those words, and I hope to master it by the time I'm done with this particular class. So fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for participating. Appreciate it. And next up, I'd like to ask Ali here in person. Ali is our former VP of membership, right? All right, so he's a good Toastmaster. What is a subject that you recently learned about?
Subject I recently learned about. I'm in sales, so like I was doing mortgage before I started doing software. But when I was doing mortgage, like when rates were at 2.5, there's nothing to sell. There was, hey, lock your rate in. Recently, like I would say pain training, like really digging on the pain of people, like not in a disrespectful way, but in a way to like insult you, but not insult you, but to put you in your place, but to let you know like, hey, like a lot of people who own business think they're up here when you got to bring them to reality. And like, you're not up here compared to Amazon. Amazon's up here, buddy. You're right here, but you get to say it in a very nice way. So you got to really dig deep on the pain. And then once you dig on that pain, you can finally like close on that deal. Cause then you bring them to reality. Like they're like, oh my God, I've been around for 50 years. I'm still word of mouth, stuff like that. And you bring them to reality and then you just close them immediately. So I would just say like pain training is like really what I've learned. And then you can also use this in real life with everyday people. Like, but not in a manipulative way, but in a good way. If you do this stuff in a good way and you are ethical in what you do, this stuff can take you very, very far. The people who own businesses in here know about this stuff because essentially they're salespeople because they have to sell themselves, they have to sell a product, or you have to sell information.
Thank you, sir. Good job, Jordan. He got it in the last second. He's like, oh yeah. Do I have time for one more? Oh. Excuse me. Leon, would you like to participate in the question? All right, perfect. Our guest, Leon. Junior was talking about not having a plan. Many people go to college 18 to 22, 23. Do you think it's better to do that or maybe just get life experience and go back to college later in life?
Thank you, Dave, for the question. I would have to say yes. I think in this day and age, it does fare well to get out into the working world, to try your hand at a few things, because let's face it, In the United States, college is expensive. So as opposed to stumbling and failing and trial and error throughout your time in university, I would say, based kind of on my experiences, at the very least, maybe start at a community college, take some of your general ed classes there. And every semester when I was starting out at my community college, I took one course of something that I was interested in that would lead me into a direction of something that I really wanted to study. And one of those classes I took was a business class. And my professor was huge on international business. And through that, it inspired me to one day to want to study abroad. And had I not taken that time to not rush off to university like many of my other friends, to begin the time away from parents, to explore a life of independence, I kind of took my time, and I'm thankful for it. And I have way less student debt than many of my other friends. But in summary, I would definitely say that everybody should take some time in life to listen to their intuition, not always having a plan, but having the plan to lean into the uncertainty of life after graduating high school so that they can get comfortable with themselves and make better decisions for their future. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So again, we had for you voting, we had Grace, Casey, Pickett, Ali, and Leon. And if, again, those of you on Zoom want to send it to Club View, and Heather is going to check it in a minute. And can I get a timers report?
Okay, great job to all the table topics participants. Everybody was across the 1 minute threshold. I had forgotten to do the green light for Ali, so sorry for the panic there, I'm sure. Casey was 1 minute 30 seconds. Grace was 1 minute 30 seconds. Lee was 1 minute 25 seconds, and Leon at 1 minute and 41 seconds. So, thank you.
Thank you much. Yeah, Ali does not need a green light. He needs a red light. He can go. And just a quick note, next week, we're going to have our guest speaker, Jennifer, here. She's going to talk to us about how to start a podcast, and she'll do Q&A and just kind of tell us how to start, because that is part of your pathways. And that is actually my next project on how to start your own podcast. So it'll be an interesting guest speaker. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to our Toastmaster. Thanks, sir.
Can we repeat the round of applause for our past president, David Jones, please? One more time. So before we move on to the evaluation portion of the evening, I just want to share a couple of additional points from the Ultralearning concept. The first principle was meta learning, which basically is having a plan. The second principle is to take action and try to learn directly. In other words, as I said earlier, not just reading books or watching YouTube, but you have to immerse yourself in what you're trying to learn. And Tristan De Montebello became a relentless speaker in an effort to improve his public speaking skills. He not only spoke at his Toastmaster club, but he went to speak to other Toastmaster clubs. He spoke at civic clubs. He spoke to families, friends. He spoke at improv groups. He hired a movie director to speak in front of him to get feedback. He spoke to people in front of on the street, and he actually went and gave a talk to a class of 7th graders. I don't know what the subject was, but he felt that they would be very uninhibited and give him honest feedback as they view the world from the eyes of a 7th grader. He was speaking at one point 5 days a week, sometimes two times on a given day. So that's the second principle: take action and learn by doing. And the third and final principle that I want to share with you is something that we are about to do here at Toastmasters, and that is to provide feedback. Feedback is extremely important in the learning process. And what Tristan De Montebello did was he would video every speech that he gave. He would video the feedback he gave, that people gave him, and then he would go over that. And at the very first Toastmaster meeting that he attended, he met a seasoned Toastmaster named Michael Gendler. And Michael Gendler was so impressed with Tristan's plans and very intrigued by them that he agreed to be Tristan's coach. And so Michael started giving Tristan feedback and coaching him through the process, and really pushed Tristan to step outside of his comfort zone as often as he could. For example, Tristan was trying to decide whether he should polish up a speech he had already given for an upcoming engagement or completely write a brand new speech. And when he asked Michael, his coach, what he should do, Michael basically said, I want you to do whatever makes you the scariest to do right now. And he wrote an entire new speech. So during Tristan's process, he gave 80 to 100 speeches in front of live audiences. During this time, he won his club contest. He won his area contest, the division, and the district. And 7 months after joining Toastmasters in August of 2017, he was one of 10 finalists for the International Toastmasters speech competition. Now, he didn't win, but his journey was pretty incredible. And not only that, but it led him to a new career, which he had no plans of getting involved with. Because he was so successful, people started asking him for advice. And he and Michael started their own speech coaching business, which actually is online. And if you're interested in looking it up, it's called none other than Ultra Speaking. So if anyone here is interested in pursuing lifelong learning, I strongly urge you to consider reading this book on ultralearning. With that, I'd now like to call upon our current president, Mr. Elvis Lopez, who will be leading the evaluation aspect of our meeting. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thank you, Toastmasters. Eric. As lifelong learners, we need to give and receive feedback. That's what this session is about. I will be introducing the evaluators. I will give a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole, and also I will be calling upon our grammarian. So let me introduce our first evaluator. Please welcome Jean Capello. Sean Sohal is evaluating our first speaker, Junior. Sorry, I had it.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you, Queen City Toastmasters, and especially Junior. Junior, what an explosive speech. I mean, no plans? Yeah, sign me up. I'm tired of creating plans for everything that I do. So going completely off cuff is natural, following your gut instinct, following what you're passionate about. I like the topic. I think it resonated with everybody here. You know, we all want to follow our passion and what we want to do in this life. You have a lot of energy. You're explosive. What I really liked in your speech is that you are pacing back and forth, which was good. And I like the ability, what I saw is that your ability to pause. You have a really natural ability to, when you say a statement, is that you pause it. So you slow down. And when you pause and you slow down your statements, it allows people to kind of really take in what you're saying. You started your speech with the story, not really with the story, but just an introduction to kind of provide people with background. Yes, we all hear our parents say 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 3-year plan. And it's very interesting that you chose this because as a creator, as an artist, I'm pretty sure that you go into this yourself as you're creating art, and plans can work against you when sometimes you're creating. And I'm assuming that this may have played a part into this, or if you do have a plan, you plan it all out, it doesn't allow you to be creative. So I see how that played into this speech and how you're able to move forward with that. So I was very impressed with how you're able to not only articulate it, but structure it. You structured it with a plan. You had a structure with the background, and then you told the audience how they can improve and how they can take their next steps by just taking one step in front of the other. So I like how you approach that. In terms of feedback and improvements, there wasn't much. I do have some, but there wasn't much. You were able to really move the room with your voice. You articulate yourself very well. You have a high pitch and a low pitch as well, which is good. So you keep, so you don't really have a monotone. You keep it going, which is very good. What I suggest you do next time is you match the pace with your statements. There's statements that you have and they're very powerful. If you match it with how you pace, I think that would be more impactful. So match your pacing with the statements that you have. I think that can improve your speech. And I think this is also good for a speech contest in the future. If you were to add one more point on how to start with no plan, just one more point and fill that out, I think that this would make a great speech contest, speech for a speech contest. Thank you very much. Elvis, back to you.
Thank you so much. Great feedback. And now next up is going to be our next evaluator, John Capello, who is going to evaluate Fitzgerald's speech.
All right, thank you for that warm introduction, Elvis. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I had the distinct pleasure of evaluating Fitz. And I'm going to go over the usual things here. The three things we call it: the structure, the verbal presentation, and the nonverbal presentation. However, I'm going to focus on two in particular, perhaps ones that we don't always focus on. We tend to focus on the structure and not so much on the verbal and nonverbal presentation parts of speeches. That was actually the goal of Fitz, of your speech, was to actually utilize and enhance use of body language and vocal variety, things that I'm very passionate about and that I like to use in my own communication. Now, I'm going to get structure out of the way because I want to focus on those two main aspects. Let's just talk about structure. And for me, structure is, was it memorable? Was there a clear message? And did it resonate with me? And you won't find a person who believes in perspective more than I do. I fully believe that life is all about what's between our ears and what are the lenses that we see life through. So from that aspect, that completely resonated with me. Use a story. Nothing better than utilizing a story to really drive home a point. So from that aspect, I thought your structure, organization, you grabbed my attention with the alarm clock. It helped connect with me and what I go through and what we all go through on a day-to-day basis. So let's focus on the main aspects or the goals of your speech. I'm going to start actually with body language. Now, if you recall, I actually evaluated your speech for crypto, and crypto, it was a very technical aspect. And so often we forget in speeches that your body language helps keep it interesting. Now, I'm Italian. I don't even know how to talk without hand gestures. So it's important, right, to really drive home and to really raise your passion with hand gestures. Certain things that I noticed, you were talking about pointing towards the sand in your toes or what have you. Those little things that really make a difference and adds to the excitement and the interest level that I keep when watching a speaker. So I thought you did that great. Vocal variety. I've heard this. I know Casey's heard me say this before, but when you speak in a monotone voice, it's more like a train. And when you ride, and what happens on a train, you fall asleep. And the whole point we use vocal variety is to act more like a roller coaster, have it go up and down. And I definitely noticed more of that. Maybe it was the crypto subject last time that is more, more mundane. It was just harder to introduce those vocal varieties. But there was definitely certain things that you use in the middle of the jungle, or ring, 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 ring. Right, those type of inflections is what keeps us really focused on the goal of what you're trying to do. It just makes it more interesting. So a couple suggestions. There, you can use vocal variety in two ways. I think I tend to use more volume, where you raise the level of your volume and even introduce a pause. Perspective is what I'm waiting for, right? Just raise the level of that when it's your most important part. But other than that, I would say, if you introduce those vocal varieties, use those more, use the stage presence more. You did that on this speech, you accomplished the goal of what you're trying to do. And I thought you did a great job. I look forward to more speeches. Elvis.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like to give a couple of points of evaluation as part of the meeting as a whole. I would like to start with our Toastmaster of the day, Eric. Wonderful theme and your explanation in going over extensive description of that story. Wonderful story, very fascinating. Lifelong learning, meta learning, ultra learning. How many concepts we just heard and learned today. Wonderful, wonderful theme, and we appreciate really all of the items that you brought in and all the learning I know was part of the process for you to also share with us today. Our inspirational speaker, Sonia, also gave us a great inspirational speech with very interesting thoughts. The pain is calm of the mind. Use your path, use your story to change the world. Very inspiring. Our grammarian, also a very good word of the day or expression of the day, very attuned with the theme, lifelong learner, which some of us use today. Jordan, your description as a timer of the role and going, I think probably the first time doing timer. Very good job, very well explanation and description of the role. Heather, again, as a ballot counter, very, very good explanation of the role and also some of the help and hints about using the ballots and the way that people have to do it so that don't cause any distraction and those type of things, which are also very, very useful and very good use of the time to explain and describe to all of the members so that we can learn a little bit more about the role and what you were trying to accomplish. The speakers, awesome, awesome speeches, both of you. Very, very well thought, very well prepared. Great delivery, as you have heard from both of our evaluators today, which also did a phenomenal job at describing all of the good points, all of the positives, and also gave you some rooms for improvement. So great evaluation overall, great meeting. We started on time, and I think we're still on time. So I would like now to ask for the timer for how the evaluators did.
Okay, the evaluators did a great job. Sean finished at 2 minutes and 52 seconds, which is under the 3 minutes, and John went a little bit over at 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to call upon the grammarian for the grammarian report. Take it away, Andrea.
Hello, this was a wonderful meeting. Can everybody hear me? Make sure everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So today was a great day. We had a plan. We worked the plan. We took action. And today was just a great meeting and we got feedback. So that was great. Thank you for that theme of the meeting and keeping us on target. So today, when Junior was speaking, he literally went into have a plan. And then the best thing that he said to me was, when you don't work with a plan or you just wing it, right? That you leave room for imagination. And your plan can be just putting one foot in front of the other. And I like to say, just do it. That was something that Junior had shared with me that I had said to him when he was saying, how do you
Did we lose it?
I apologize. Can you guys hear me still? Can you hear me? Okay, my apologies for that. It connected to the Wi-Fi here at church. So that was one of the great things, and I'm not sure if you heard me, but the best thing that he said was that you can have a plan by putting one foot in front of the other. And I like to say, just do it. And that was something that Junior shared with me. Sometimes you just speaking with someone else, you can become a mentor without even trying to. And then Fitzgerald's speech. These speeches were very good for these new Toastmasters. We need to give them another round of applause. And you know, the best thing he said is, I just want to get away. And sometimes we just want to get away from our mundane life. And that was something that stuck with me. And then the last thing he left us with was start changing the way you look at things, and we start seeing things differently. The people that said the word of the day, which was lifelong learning, I have the following people, and it looks like, okay. It was Elvis, it was Eric, it was David, it was Junior. He didn't say lifelong learner, learning, but he said lifelong learner. So I did note that. And both speeches were very clean. I didn't hear a lot of souls and oh and uhs and ands and crutch words. They were right on point, direct, and I appreciated that. And today our table topics, us as well. Not a lot of us. A lot of people got into the spirit of the meeting, and I just wanted to say congratulations to all those who got up and spoke today. And with that, I turn it back over to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Andrea. And with that, I would like to give the control back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Elvis. Excellent job. We would now like to request results from our official ballot counter. Toastmaster Heather, would you please come up and join us and give us your report? Please give her a warm welcome.
Toastmaster Eric. Da, 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 da. I have the results. Okay. You guys did an awesome job voting, by the way. I think that was the most votes that I've counted. It's only my second time, but still. Okay. Best tape. Let me go in order. Okay. Best speaker, Fitz. It was close. It was very close. For table topics, Leon. Congratulations. And the best evaluator was a tight one too, John. Close. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I want to thank everybody who participated this evening. This was an awesome meeting, and everybody who either spoke or did an evaluation or timer, ballot counter, grammarian, et cetera, was fantastic. So thank you all for participating. I'd like to encourage everybody, as soon as you walk out of this room, get in your car, drive home. As soon as you get into your house, say hi to your family, make sure everything's cool. Right after that, go to your computer and sign up for roles for next week, because we know everybody wants to be participating. With that, we conclude this evening's meeting, and I'd now like to hand it over to our president once again, Toastmaster Elvis. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. What a wonderful meeting we had. I told you at the beginning, right? We were going to have an awesome meeting. What a wonderful meeting it was. Now, before we close out the meeting, I would like to invite, once again, our guests to give us your impression. What do you think about the meeting overall? Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. Overall, I thought the meeting was very well organized, very put together. A wide variety of people and personalities always make speaking a lot more beautiful. And I would also say the word of the day was a new thing. I had in the last group I was in, that wasn't a thing. And I kind of like that, kind of whoever speaks trying to incorporate that word of the day into whatever you're speaking about is something very interesting. So I really look forward to coming again next week. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And some of our guests on Zoom would like to share your thoughts about the meeting tonight.
Well, thank you very much for having me again. I was really impressed with how the meeting was run. Our Toastmaster, wow, I love that lifelong learning. The theme was very, very inspirational and carried through the meeting, which I personally found very, very helpful and inspiring. I also loved seeing how your club does things a little bit differently than the clubs that I have previously belonged to, which makes me kind of fun, and seeing the new faces and the new ways of doing things. And I appreciate this hybrid in terms of being able to see the folks in the room, the people who are on Zoom. My corporate club is going to be going hybrid at some point in time as well. So giving me some ideas. But again, I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all in person and participating some more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Well, Casey.
Once again, I want to thank you guys for having me. I would say it's good to see everyone still thriving. It's good to see the old faces and the new faces. I would say that our speakers, you both did a phenomenal job. I'm inspired, I'm motivated. And so just want to, again, thank you guys for having me and continue doing what you do.
Great to have you here. I don't think we have any. Ali, come over here.
I just want to say this real quick. This is about as professional as I've been in Toastmasters last year, probably over a year. David. Elvis, you have done an amazing job. This is about as a professional, well-equipped, time-mannered meeting. And I was telling David, I was like, because like literally like I would say 80% of this room is like all new people not here last year. I was telling David that like, you guys did a good job of like finding new people and finding the right people and like getting good speakers. Because honest to God, the both of you, I feel like when I was listening to y'all's speeches, I feel like I was listening to a TED talk. And it was hard for me it was hard for me to vote for one because you guys both were the best. But this is, I would say like you guys, I'm being honest here. Y'all are like some of the best speakers I've seen come through here. I know you said you don't like the plan, but I feel like you practiced that thing like, because dude, you had to, and him too, he was practicing his too. I feel like he had the slides going on. He was telling David, yeah. So I feel like you guys practice, and this is like I said, that was like my biggest thing when I was a speaker, dude. I didn't practice no speeches. I did off the top of my head, but you guys have literally like, this makes me want to come back. Can't come back every week, but I come back once a month. And if I'm not here, maybe I'll be here. Right.
Thank you so much, Ali. We're grateful to have you here. You are welcome to come anytime. With that, I would like to call the meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and we will welcome